And we're here to cover the story of Edward Snowden. And right now we can hear from RT's correspondent Anissa now. If you can hear us, Anissa, please update us on what's going on there. What are you hearing from there where you are?
Well, Edward Snowden, according to reports, has asked and said he will ask for political asylum here in Russia. He had a meeting with representatives of various human rights groups in Sheremetyevo Airport, where he has been living for some 19 days in limbo. He has not crossed the Russian border. He doesn't have a passport. He doesn't have citizenship. This was why, according to him, he called these human rights activists to the airport to meet with them. They are now speaking to the press, so we're slowly starting to find out what options he might have for political asylum in Russia. Let's not forget that 2 weeks ago or so, he withdrew his application for asylum in Russia after President Putin made it clear that it would be under certain terms he would be welcome to stay in Russia. Those terms, we've heard recently from the Kremlin, have not changed. But in the past 2 weeks, for some reason, Edward Snowden has decided to apply for political asylum once again in the Russian Federation. Why? No one is sure. Perhaps for security reasons. If he can stay in Russia for a little bit longer, lie low. There's been lots of speculation as to how possibly he could fly to Latin America. Several countries there have offered him asylum. No official paperwork has begun. But it's a very tricky situation about how to get Edward Snowden to Latin America. It could be a very dangerous step for him. So perhaps he really has decided that Russia is the safest place to stay. The question now is he ready to agree to those terms and stop leaking as he applies for this asylum?
Yeah, Anissa, and we're getting reports that, by the way, WikiLeaks will be releasing Snowden's statement to human rights groups this evening. That's for those who will be interested to read them all. And also, Edward Snowden hopes that if he gets political asylum here in Russia, it will give him the right to move freely inside Russia. So there was RT's Anissa now live from Sheremetyevo Airport, where the meeting took place. Anissa, thank you very much. And right now we can listen to. All right, Anissa, okay, stay where you are. Okay, thank you very much. I'm just listening what we're doing next. Okay, Anissa, stay where you are, but we're ready to listen to human rights representative Tatiana Lokshina right now. Let's listen in what she has to say.
He actually said that he did not believe Putin's statement to be any problem as far as his asylum claim is concerned, Russia-wise, because he said that do any damage to the United States, and he's not planning to do any harm to the United States.
Yeah, by the way, Anissa, Russian lawyer Anatoly Kucherena will provide legal support to Snowden in going through political asylum procedures as well. So some latest information for you, Anissa. Do you have anything to add, Ivor? Ivor Crotty's here with me as well.
Yeah, Anissa, I'm on the desk here watching the tweets come through, and it seems this is a Twitter-driven story.
Hi, Ivor. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear what Tatiana had to say. Perhaps you could reiterate.
By all means, yeah. Well,
I'm certainly very interested to know.
It's pretty much what we already know, is that Snowden's taking the position that his leaks are not harming America. And as such, he would be able to meet the conditions that Putin sets out for him. But the question is being posed. For example, Ellen Barry of the New York Times just posted it. Has Snowden agreed to stop leaking, or is he taking the position that as his leaks don't damage America, he's somehow meeting the conditions set out by Putin? Vladimir Lukin, the Russian human rights ambassador, has quoted Snowden saying that he sees himself as a patriot. And I guess there's an element of this that comes back to the famous Patriot Act and what it is constitutes an American patriot or not. But that's just the latest that we're hearing. I think I guess my understanding would be that the Kremlin will probably be pretty hesitant about making any clear-cut statements other than the conditions that they set out a couple of weeks ago for Snowden have stood. And Lokshina has told the media basically the quote that we had from Tanya Lokshina of Human Rights Watch was that Snowden doesn't see his leaks as being against America's interests.
All right, Anissa, thank you very much indeed for that.
I think this is going to be
Okay, carry on. Okay. Yes, please go on.
I was just going to say I agree with Ivor. I think it's really turning into a tricky situation. You're going to see a lot of this on Twitter. Well, what does stop leaking mean? What does harming America mean? The one thing we can know for sure, and Russia will stand by this, is that all of this is going to be analyzed and done, the procedures, according to international law. Russia, let's not forget, doesn't extradite. Yes, they possibly exchanged. I know you were talking about that a little bit before with Dmitry, but they certainly won't hand Snowden over to any country that has the death penalty. Yes, this could put pressure on U.S.-Russia relations, but Russia is going to be very careful, and so is the U.S. I think when it comes to Russia. Latin America was very angry with what happened. That's putting it lightly. To Evo Morales. International laws broken across the board there. But I think it's fair to say that while Latin America is braver in standing up to the U.S., Russia is no Latin America, and both sides are going to tread very carefully. And let's not forget that Edward Snowden is not seen as a spy in Russia. In fact, it's interesting enough, in a recent poll in the U.S., he was seen as more of a hero in a poll than a spy. So it's the American government, it's the Obama administration that sees this man as a spy. These human rights activists are going to support him. They're going to fight for him to the end. And whether that means getting political asylum in Russia, they're certainly going to do their best to make sure he stays safe and that he's not handed over to the United States.
Sure.
All right, Anissa, thank you very much. We'll be back, of course, and we'll chat to you more. But right now, NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden has reportedly promised to stop releasing leaks that harm Washington in return for asylum here in Russia. That was the condition that prompted the former CIA contractor to withdraw his previous application for Russian asylum. And he gathered 13 human rights activists and lawyers at the transit zone of Sheremetyevo airport and asked them to help him get refuge in Russia. Apparently, Snowden said he was asking because it was proving impossible to fly to Latin America. Venezuela, Bolivia and Nicaragua have all offered him asylum. Just to remind you, Snowden has been stuck in limbo at Sheremetyevo airport for more than 2 weeks now, since leaving Hong Kong for Moscow. And back at home in the US, he's facing espionage charges for leaking documents showing the unprecedented scope of the US surveillance program.